Hey everybody, Sue Scott of the Back 10 Feet here, and just thought I'd take some time to show you around my place. And let's talk about some of the things you can do, even if you rent or don't have any extra funds. What can you do or not do in your landscape to make things better? This is the porch. I rent the bottom half of a house. And as you can see, I've even left alone this beautiful spider web near the plants that I put on the porch and these pots that I enjoy. Spiders are good. So we tend to leave them alone here in this location. Just want to share that with you. What's cool about a lot of places here in Wisconsin where I live is that most yards are a combination of native and non-native plants. This is cutleaf coneflower, native to Wisconsin, right here in the front, and boy, it's usually just loaded with insects, which is a good thing. I've gotten a lot of great photographs of our bumblebees and wasps and flies and what have you, and butterflies right here on this plant. The one thing I do want to share is this little tiny front yard. And what's really great about my neighborhood is people do not water the grass. They don't feed the grass, they let the grass be, and whatever happens, happens. Normally in the summer we get enough rain that everybody's grass is green all summer long. Now it's kind of crispy. We haven't had the rain we normally get for August, so but it is what it is. And what you can do, regardless of where you live, is to simply let the sod be. If you can't afford to replace it or do anything else with it, just let it be. Whatever it is, it is. Do not add anything to it, no inputs, and let it come back next year. I want to share with you, unfortunately, a lot of places love these cultivars of hydrangeas. See how big the heads are on this plant? And when they're in full bloom, they're kind of pretty. Bright white usually to start with, but then they fall over. So we've got this huge patch of a cultivar that doesn't do anything for any insects or any butterflies. And, not that great. But again, I can't do anything about that. It's just what's here. It fills the space, so you let it be. A really cool plant that just sprouts all over here is white snake root, and it has beautiful, let me see if I can zoom in and get, there you go. It has beautiful blooms that are used by a lot of insects. Looks a lot like boneset, but as you can see, the leaves are much wider. So it's not boneset, it is actually white snake root. There we go. We've got grapevine growing up all over this house. We've got some ferns that may be native, I'm not sure. And lots of grapevine, which actually helps cool the house. So the other renter and I tend to leave it alone. I just make sure my windows are clear so I can get some airflow and can see out. But we just let it go. And again, the grass is what it is. I've edged the sidewalks this past spring just to make it a little easier to walk on. This is a rose bush that kind of didn't make it, but by leaving it here, it's actually a great perching place for little birds, and it's kind of safe because it still has thorns. So again, there you go. Leave what you can. This is some kind of it might be a cabbage white. There we go. There we go. And he's using that white snake root. Isn't that something? You'll always see them on the native plants more than the non-native. Just saying. But what I do here in the back, a lot of places have vegetable gardens in this part of the country. It's pretty much a positive thing. Even in front yards, we have them. And what I've done back here, this was a strip of grass, and I put down cardboard and some mulch to get rid of the grass, just to make it easier to mow back here. And we had a fence around the veggie garden, which we dug up, and I have now replaced the metal fence with a living fence. And this is just their first year, so I've got this is a sand coreopsis type of tick seed that will have beautiful yellow flowers. And I've added in a line of prairie drop seed. These are just plugs that are still growing, but look, I've got my first inflorescence and it's only been in a couple of months. So these will create a fence of sorts. And then on two of the other sides, I've actually got little blue stem. And it is actually going to seed already this year. So by using plants as a fence, oh, and there's some sunflowers, non-native, and there's some flowers that came up with a mix I got from Fedco, which are not necessarily native. I think these are maybe Mexican sunflowers, I'm not sure. But those I'll let stay, and they're mixed in with the vegetables that we have. Okay, and then, but back here what I've done is I've cleared out a lot of the violets, and I've actually added in native plants. Gotten some goldenrod. And they are just, I mean, they're just getting really big. They were quite small when I got them, like, you know, that big. And columbine, and adding in some mist flowers, and some clovers. And then I'm sprinkling seeds back here as well. And then what's cool is this is aronia. It is a black chokeberry, which is native. It only get maybe 8 feet high, so I won't worry about the power lines, just above. Okay, and what this will do is it will mask the pile of weeds that I put behind it. What's cool about that pile, it's going to compress, eventually turn into beautiful compost, and in the meantime, over winter this year, it should be perfect for overwintering insects, including our native bumblebees. So again, got some natives and non-natives mixed in, and what I've done is simply add some more natives to the mix, like some Joe Pye weed, got another goldenrod here, put in some rattlesnake master, and we've even got some catnip growing because we have cats. So I just want to share with you that by adding to what's already here, I didn't have to dig anything up, I didn't have to change anything. Again, I rent, but I am trying to create a neater, more logical place for the vegetable garden, and adding again a line of these beautiful prairie dropseed, which will eventually really fill in nicely. And then each corner here has the native Asclepias tuberosa, or butterfly milkweed. Oh, I hear somebody. And then back here, this beautiful mountain mint, which was which was like this big when I put it in, and it's only been here this one season. This will fill in and cover that little pile of weeds. And then since it's coming into fall, I've gotten rid of some of my pots, and I just tipped them upside down throughout the garden to become little safety places for little people. Okay, so I just let them sit there, and then they get covered in snow, they become hiding places, and they work as little houses all through the fall and winter and spring. This is coneflower that grew here from seeds that I dropped in just this last fall, and then this spring they came up and they're already going to seed. So that'll be perfect for any of the goldfinches coming through. And then what I'm going to do here, someone again just put this in as kind of an extra garden and marked it off using these concrete blocks. Well, what I'm going to do with all the weeds I've created over here, this pile, which looks pretty bad, but again, it's already turning into compost and creating beautiful soil underneath. I'll use some of that to fill in those concrete blocks, and then those can become places for bees to nest over winter. Pretty awesome idea, right? And then I'll use some pavers from around the house to create a little sidewalk along the side of it here. So again, what I'm doing is simply adding to and making use of what is already here, not spending a lot of money, just on the plants I put in. And the other thing is to make sure there are plenty of water sources for birds, butterflies, bees, whoever. Oh, nothing like having a jet going overhead. Anyway, what's neat about this one, I want to point out, I do scrub it out daily with just a brush and put fresh water in it, but it's very shallow. See how shallow it is? And it's also very rough kind of cement, and you notice the lip, so it's easy for birds to hook onto this and to feel safe and to not slip and fall and to not drown. Also better for insects when it's like that. And I've actually got quite a few water sources in my yard. That's the other thing we can all add, no matter where you live. This one again on the ground, very shallow, like a ½ inch deep, plus little rocks that little insects can use to gently walk down to the water and get some water. I actually have a few more sources on the ground in the shade. Let's come over here. This is another compost bin. It's full. And there's a little plate. Again, very shallow. It's only about 6 inches wide. I do scrub it out. I don't use any bleach or any harmful chemicals. And very shallow. Oh, look who's here. Well, hi. Hi there. Yeah. Yes, I talk to the birds and the bees. I do. Let's see. Let's come out and refocus a little bit. There we go. So I also have this watering dish. Again, on the ground, near a shrub. And again, very shallow. I just want to point that out. Very shallow and wide and rough. Oh, hi. A little fly landing on me. So the point there is to create sources that can collect water and hold it. Good for the birds and the butterflies and the bees, and safe for them as well. Oh, more cabbage whites, I think. And then some of the, like I say, some of the things here, there's not much I can do about them. But that's okay. And there's more of the grapevine, which is everywhere, which is kind of cool. Grapevine is found throughout North America. It's native, creates beautiful berries, great for wildlife. And again, in our case, it's actually shading the house and doesn't appear to do much damage. I don't know. You know, you'll have to talk to someone else about that. So I may not know what I'm talking about there. But again, all these places create hiding and safe places for little birds and butterflies. What's already here, hey, not much I can do about it, but I can decide not to use any other inputs into the landscaping. Oh, and here's another little source of water I have. Isn't that pretty? I actually got that on sale at K&A Nursery in Madison. I love it. And again, wherever I can add just a little bit of shallow water anywhere is good, especially for the insects, because they need water too. All right. Oh, and I actually have underneath, there's more of the Asclepia tuberosa growing, and I just let things go. And as I was saying, though, I don't add any inputs. No fertilizer, no herbicides, no extra water, nothing unnatural being added. Support the native plants that are already here. Add native plants where you can, and please put out multiple sources of water, bird baths, and especially some water sources on the ground. So that just shows you, no matter where you live, rent or own, we can all do something. And even if I couldn't do all this, if all I could do was a pot, I would get a big pot and put 3 native plants in it. 2 for nectar and 1 as a larval host plant. And I'd still be doing something positive and adding to the environment, not subtracting from it. Okay? So just wanted to share all that with you. I live on a busy road, but it all matters. And just, oh, here, let me show you one more thing. Let's head on over. Common milkweed is quite common here. And as you can see, it's all starting to go to seed, and pretty soon these capsules will just be full of seeds. And it's just amazing how much grows here. And again, some coneflower back here going to seed. And what you can do is simply, leave most of the seeds for the birds, take some and sprinkle them wherever else you want them. And then look at this. Here we have, I think they're called milkweed bugs. There you go. I'm not going to interfere, okay? Whatever's happening is natural. I'm not interfering. I'm not killing anything. I'm just going to let them go. Look at all the life on this milkweed. It really is pretty amazing. So, Having said all this, I hope you all will be motivated to put out more water sources for wildlife, on the ground especially, shallow, wide, rough, to make it easy for birds, bees, insects to access water safely. That would be awesome. Please don't add fertilizer or any herbicides or insecticides to your landscape. And even if you rent, you can usually tuck in a few native plants in with the non-natives and make things just a little bit better. And we could all do more, even if all we do is start in the back 10 feet.